Hey there friends, welcome back to my channel. It's Marie. Today I am playing with this Unity stamp set. It is called Time to Refresh and it's got these gorgeous tropical images on there. I'm going to be stamping these onto some honeysuckle cardstock by Brutus Monroe. This is a really light pink and I thought that would be a great background for a tropical card. I am using some Fun Stamper's Journey Fusion inks to stamp this out, and since these are a rubber stamp, I don't really use my Misty as much for rubber stamps. I find these Unity stamps are very good quality and I can usually get a great image with stamping with a stamp block. I've zoomed in here a little bit because it's a little bit hard to see this lighter ink. I am stamping with, I believe it's called Cool Pool, and it's a really light blue on this pink cardstock, so it does show up, but it's not quite as dark as some other colors, or if I were to stamp with black. I decided to stamp with colors because I don't do that a lot, and I'm trying to experiment with different techniques and different things to get different looks. So now I'm taking some lemongrass and I'm going to stamp out this really big leaf here and just create a scene with my stamps. So what I'm trying to do is create a border on both sides and kind of leave some white space in the middle. I am also trimming this cardstock panel down to an A2 size length, so 5.5, but I made it a little bit more narrow, so it's about 3 3/4 long or wide, however you want to say that. And that way I'm just going to leave a little bit of space on each side that I can then add some gold cardstock, and you will see that later. So I am just stamping this branch along the sides. I love that this is a solid image. I don't have to do much else to it other than just stamp it out. I think these palm branches would be great as a silhouette if you stamp them out in black over an ink blended background. That's also something else you can do with this stamp set. There are so many things that I want to do with this stamp set. I've reached for it again because I've got different ideas and I just don't find myself having time to go back to previous stamp sets, and that's something I really want to work on. So this background looks really great as is. You don't have to color it, but I decided to take my stylefile alcohol markers and kind of add a little color to some of these images. Now I do kind of lose some of the detail lines in these images when I color over them with my markers here, and I did really speed this up because it's just a lot of coloring. It's simple coloring. I'm just taking my marker and adding color to the middle and brushing it out. So that's all I'm doing. I'm using a really light blue here for these flowers, and then I'm going to come back in with a little bit darker of a blue and kind of darken the edges and the lines on these flowers. And that's just going to add a little bit more detail back into this flower. It's going to define the edges a little bit. And you kind of end up with a little bit of a no-line coloring type look. But since I'm not really great at no-line coloring, I'm not going to say that's what it is. But you get the idea. So I'm adding a little bit darker color around the edges and adding a little bit more detail. And I'm also adding a little bit in the center just to kind of make it stand out a little bit. So I apologize that this video right now is a little bit choppy. That's just because I sped it up. Otherwise, you guys would be here forever watching me just add a little bit of color. I did take a little while to do this just because I've never done it before and it's kind of experimental. I've never used alcohol markers on my cardstocks, my colored cardstocks, and so I didn't quite know how it was going to work. It does change the color a little bit. Your color's not going to be as vibrant as it would be on white cardstock, but I liked the look that it gave, and I liked having those bold leaves and those flowers against that pink background. So I'm coloring the leaves now with a green, but this is more of a bluish green, so it kind of goes well with those blue flowers. I am just outlining these leaves and then I'm filling in the space with some alcohol ink. And that's just going to kind of fill in those flowers. Now, like I said, you do kind of lose some of the detail when you go over these lighter inks with your alcohol markers. So I'm coming back in with another color of green, adding some lines to those leaves, adding some detail in there. And later on in the video, you will see me go back with some white gel pen. And I'm really glad I did that because I really like how that turned out as well. It just kind of ended up being a unique card for me. So I have everything colored in now. I love how it's that tropical border on each side. I left a little space kind of in the middle so I could put a sentiment and some different things. And now we're going to move on with the next step. So here is my white gel pen. I have sped this up as well just to kind of move along in the video. I'm just adding some white gel pen lines coming from the center of my flower and going out. I'm making sure they're kind of really squiggly and really organic and not really caring if they're perfect or not. And then I do add a few little dots to the center of my flower, and that just adds a little bit more interest. It adds a little bit more detail because I did lose some detail coloring over it with my alcohol ink markers. So I'm doing that to my flowers. I'm also going to do that to my leaves. And you can see I already did add some highlights to my leaves, but I'm going to go back and add some lines because I really like how this turned out. I'm giving you a close-up look, and I hope you can see how that white kind of pops off the page a little bit and really draws your eyes to those flowers. So I'm going back with my gel pen, adding some to the leaves, kind of trying to stay where the veins would be in those leaves, just adding it from the middle and coming out. Now, if you look at some tropical artwork on Pinterest or on the interwebs, you will see some with pink backgrounds, and that's kind of where I got my inspiration. I just really loved that look. I would never think to do like a total pink background. You guys know my style is like clean and simple, and I like a lot of white space. So again, just trying to branch out. If you have any ideas of anything you'd like me to try or see, just post the comment down below. I'd love to try new things and to branch out with my own crafting for a little bit more variety. So I'm adding some of this honey gold cardstock. This is from Tonic. It's their Craft Perfect cardstock. It's sort of a matte pearlescent gold, and I really like that. It's not that mirror shiny stuff, which is gorgeous too, but I like this matte gold. I really am drawn to it for a lot of my things. I'm putting a little strip on each side of my tropical panel here. And that way, when I pop it up on my card base, it's going to have a little extra shine on the sides. I just love it. So I'm going to layer on a card base. You can see it's a little bit narrower than the card front, and that's exactly what I wanted. So now I have some Raven Black cardstock. I'm going to stamp my sentiment onto that cardstock and then emboss it with my Gilded embossing powder. This is my all-time favorite embossing powder. It's gold, it's shiny, it melts so smooth, and I just love it. I try to sprinkle a little bit of shiny something on every card I do, and it seems to end up being Gilded embossing powder, and I'm not complaining because I love it so much. Especially on a dark cardstock, it just makes it shine so much more. So I like to dump my powder onto my sentiments or my stamped images over a coffee filter. I can tap off that extra and put it back into the jar, and then I'm just going to melt that sentiment with my Wagner heat tool. Now I'm going to take this sentiment and cut it apart. I like those top two lines that say slow down and enjoy life. And I'm just going to cut those out with my paper trimmer into little strips so that I can add them to the front of my card. I'm going to stamp this sentiment on the front of my card as well, and then emboss it in gold so that just a bit will be sticking out underneath the slow down and enjoy life sentiments. Now I think you could use slow down and enjoy life as a sentiment all by itself, but I really do like that variation in font where you get those bold letters and then the cursive scripty letters below, and I thought it would be nice to kind of change it up a bit, get a little bit more use out of your sentiments and show sort of a creative way to use it. So I'm going to stamp this down onto my cardstock. Like I said, I feel like I get a really great impression with these rubber stamps. I don't feel like I need to use a MISTI for them all the time. As long as I press them down really well, give it a second to let that ink soak into the paper. Now I'm just sprinkling on some more of that gold embossing powder. I'm going to emboss that with my heat tool just the way I did my first sentiment. And then to finish it off, I'm going to adhere those sentiment strips over this cardstock, over this sentiment, and that will pretty much be the card. Off camera, I did add some splatters with some gold liquid element just along the sides. That gives a little bit more texture. I did think about adding some gold sequins, and you could totally do that as well. You could brush this with some sparkle, you know, Wink of Stella or some Aqua shimmer pens, whatever you have. I think that would be great too, but I decided to leave it. I loved how it turned out. This is my first time using alcohol markers on cardstock, so let me know what you think about that. Have you tried it yourself? Do you think this looks terrible? I kind of like how it turned out, and I needed a little tropical in my life before summer is completely gone. I can't believe the kids are already going back to school. But anyway, that pretty much finishes the card. I thank you so much for stopping by my channel today. Tell me what you think. Hit the like, subscribe, share, comment, tap the bell for notifications, and do all the things. And I will catch you guys next time. Thanks for stopping by. Have a great day.